afternoon, good evening, or good night. This is Harry Harper coming at you live from the Macroeconomics 1107 news team. Today we have a special for you, unlike anything we've ever done in the history of our coverage before. We take an in-depth look at GDP, how it affects our economy, and our everyday lives as consumers. Taking you now to Western Canadian correspondent Joel Herbert with the general definition and more.
Thanks for the introduction, Harry. Today's story is about gross domestic product, aka GDP, which we know accounts for everything produced in our nation while showing how efficient we are. We calculate GDP by adding together all private consumption, government spending, our country's investments, and net exports. Now, sending you back to our lead anchor, Harrison Harper.
Thank you very much, Joel. There we have some general background information on GDP and what it means, and we're going to continue building off that here in the newsroom as we take you to reporter Gravy, the man with the most delicious nickname in media. And that's not what I wanted to say, but we're going to roll with it here at 1107, and we're going to continue giving you groundbreaking facts on the economy and what it means to us today. So, Brett, if you could take it away from here and give us some more information on consumption and how it affects GDP as a whole.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, but thanks for that, Harps. Consumption in economics, the use of goods and services by households. Consumption is distinct from consumption and expenditure, which is the purchase of goods and services for use by households. The main topic here tonight is household consumption set to accelerate. In January 2017 alone, the value of retail sales surged 2.2%, one of the sharpest monthly increases since we started tracking this in 1991. As a result, the annual growth of the value and volume of retail sales has recently started to ramp up. Back to you, Harrison.
Well, folks, sorry about that technical difficulty. I'm getting word from the back that it was actually a faulty wire in one of our food trucks. So forget that. Moving on, great piece by Gravy, and we're going to move on now to Nathan Glass, another correspondent of ours, going to give you some information on government purchases and how it affects GDP. Moving on now.
Thanks, Harry. Government purchases the money that a government spends procuring goods or services from the private sector. A perfect example of this would include a local government hiring a company to repair a road, or the national government buying artillery for the military. Back to you, Harry.
Thank you very much, Nathan. An informative piece on government purchases, and we're going to keep things moving along here. We're going to go now to our fiery Frenchman, the reporter himself, Dominic Graham, and he's going to give you some information about investment expenditures and how that affects the GDP. Moving on.
Thank you, Harry. Investment expenditure plays an important role in macroeconomics activity affecting short-run business and long-run economic growth. In saying this, investment and expenditure illustrate as expenditures made by the business sector on final goods and services. Even though the terms investment and expenditure and investment are often interchangeable, they have distinct meanings. When looking at investment expenditure, this term deals with investment activities that involves business purchases as capital good and capital equipment, such as inventory, in order to produce future benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Another informative piece. But as I said before, we're going to keep things moving along with more and more information each and every time. Moving now to our Northern Ontario correspondent, Brett Jeffries from Red Lake, Ontario. He's going to give us some more insight on. Stay tuned and find out.
Thanks, Harry. This is Brett Jeffries reporting live from Red Lake, and we're talking about GDP, and more specifically, net exports and imports. Net exports refer to the value of a country's exports minus the value of its total imports. It is used to calculate the country's GDP. Exports are where Canada sells to other countries, such as softwood lumber and crude oil. Imports are what Canada purchases from other countries, such as vehicles and fruits. Sending it back to you, Harry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jeffries. Jeffrey's happens to be one of the brightest young economists we have on our team from Northern Ontario, and he represents us very great with great content each and every time. Now we're going to take you to a breaking news story from our correspondent Tyler Brown inside the nation's capital on trade balances and how it affects our country and its economy. Taking you there now.
Yes, thanks Harrison. I'm here live on location at the Parliament building where news has just come down of Canada's trade balance. News has just come down that Canada is running a trade deficit right now, which is not good for the economy. We've heard that it's gone from 3 million to 3.4 million since July, and this is a direct result from the lack of exports from the country. Now, Canada only has a trade surplus when it's trading with the United States, and with all other countries, it is running a trade deficit. And as we know, a trade deficit results in adding to the country's debt, and that's never good for the economy. So in this expert's opinion, we've got to do something to up our exports and to help our economy out and get out of this debt. Now, I'm sending it back to Harrison Harper in the newsroom.
Thank you very much, Tyler. Tyler, one of the most respected reporters we have on the field today, bringing you up-to-date information each and every time. Well, folks, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. We've dove into the topic of GDP and dissected it and made it aware to you why it affects us as consumers in our everyday lives across the country of Canada. Well, folks, as we said, that's all we have here, all the time we have tonight at 11:07. Tune in to see us next week as we dive into more topics that affect our economy. Thank you, and good night.
My name is what? My name is